Isn't that what this is really all about? It's nothing about principle or standing up for democracy. It's about beating Donald Trump, isn't it?
It is not about principle or standing up for democracy. Sorry to be laughing at that. You're absolutely right. This is all about Trump.
Welcome to Political Perspectives. I'm Hugo Gurdon, Editor-in-Chief of the Washington Examiner. Please like and subscribe if you're joining us on YouTube. And I am joined today by Byron York, our Chief Political Correspondent. And Byron, right now, as we talk, at the State House in Austin, Texas, the legislators are about to vote on a redistricting map that is expected to give the Republicans 5 extra congressional seats. Can you give us a little bit of background about what has happened and brought us to this state?
Well, the first lesson here is the majority is going to win. We knew that really at the beginning. You can't really have a legislature in which a minority can shut down the whole thing permanently. Just doesn't work out that way. The origin of this is, I think, pretty multifaceted. First of all, a lot of states, often in the Democratic column, have redistricted in recent years and created a lot of super Democratic districts, making them safe for those Democratic members. Texas still had room to do that. There were a number of places where they could make districts a little more Republican. And you had the situation where the midterm elections are coming up next year. The House Republicans have the narrowest majority possible. Republicans started thinking about how can we make it more likely to actually keep the majority next year, because you have to think in the president's midterm, he's probably going to lose seats.
Right.
So all that comes together. And one last thing I should say is that Texas has been growing a lot. It's actually becoming more Republican with some of the people who are moving there. It's probably going to get 4 seats the next time there's a census in 2030.
So one of the things, though, the principal argument that the Democrats have made is that their actions to try and prevent this redistricting is to defend democracy. What they did over the last couple of weeks is they fled the state. This denied the Republicans a quorum where they need 100 people in the legislature to take any action, and they only have 88 seats. So just by fleeing the state and going, for example, to Illinois and being welcomed with open arms by Governor Pritzker there, who's obviously running for presidency next time, the Democrats were saying that they are defending democracy by preventing a Democratic vote in the legislature. There's a kind of irony there, isn't there?
I think so. I'm not sure you really defend democracy by shutting down a legislature. Another irony is that they go to Illinois, which is a super gerrymandered state. It's one of those states where if you say that Democrats have really kind of squeezed all the redistricting juice they can get out of this lemon, that Illinois would be the place.
Right.
And so they go there, and the governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, who wants to be the Democratic nominee for president, of course, welcomes them in open arms, and they talk about fighting back against Trump and all that kind of stuff. But it was not gonna work. I mean, it didn't work more than a decade ago when Democrats in Wisconsin fled the state to try to stop some of Scott Walker's, who was then the governor, budget reforms. Ultimately, Walker's reforms passed, and they were good for Wisconsin, by the way. So these are stunts, and they do delay the inevitable. But if the majority is going to do this, they're going to do it, and that's what happened in Texas.
It is extraordinary to see the Democrats and their supporters saying this is what democracy looks like, and yet they want to thwart the majority and the will of the voters. Now, one of the other things that they point to is the fact that this redistricting is being done slap bang in the middle between 2 censuses, the 2020 and the 2030. But as you point out, the 2020, the Texas has gained a lot of residents, because people are coming to want to live in a low-tax, well-governed state. So Texas is now underrepresented, and as I understand it, and tell us a bit more about this as well, it's even more underrepresented because the Census Bureau admits that it bungled the 2020 census, undercounting in Texas. So there are two reasons, are there not, why Texas is sort of underrepresented in Congress right now.
Yeah, the second one you mentioned is one you hear a lot from Republicans about why they're doing this in Texas is because the 2020 census was uniquely screwed up. And you can say, well, some of it was due to COVID that year, and of course, COVID did mess up a lot of things in 2020. But also, the fact is, they believe it significantly undercounted Texas and some other red states, and overcounted blue states.
Right.
It's just the way it works. So that's another reason for this. Now, I have to say, I think it would be better if they weren't redistricting in the middle of a decade, and there weren't these big fights over redistricting at this time. But this is one of the things like fundraising and all sorts of things where one party is not going to unilaterally disarm if the other party has done it. And that's what it is with redistricting, and that's why Texas is doing this.
Yeah, so let's turn our attention briefly in this to the role of California and Governor Gavin Newsom, because one of the reasons that the Democrats cite for having gone back to Austin is that Gavin Newsom has given them a sort of degree of safety, because while the new map in Texas is going to give the Republicans probably 5 extra congressional seats, Gavin Newsom plans to gerrymander the map there even more than it's gerrymandered now. And there are several aspects to this which are just absolutely extraordinary. One is that even after the Texas map is gerrymandered, it will not be as skewed and biased towards one political party as the California map already is. And the gerrymander that Gavin Newsom plans will make California's map the most gerrymandered in all of the nation. And so you have this extraordinary thing where, I mean, to go back to the point that you were making, the Democrats have already squeezed as much much out of gerrymandering as they can, and there's a lot more scope for the Republicans to gerrymander across the country, is there not?
There is. And it's interesting that the two national Democrats who become most identified with this, Gavin Newsom and J.B. Pritzker, are both presidential candidates, or going to be presidential candidates. So now, talking to people who know California politics, it's a one-party state. They have the power to do this. The legislature does. Now, it's going to have to go to the voters again, because unlike Texas, California has an independent commission to do redistricting, and the voters of California voted for that twice.
Right.
And so basically what Gavin Newsom is saying is, well, yeah, they voted for it, and the commission's a good idea, but let's put it aside for 2026.
Yeah.
And why don't we put it aside again for 2028? And then after the 2030 census, then we'll go back to our independent commission. So basically, he is saying, and a lot of Democrats think this way, that in the Trump administration, the country faces such a severe threat that you simply just have to change a few rules to deal with it. And that's what they're trying to do, because they had actually voted for, not once, but twice, an independent commission for this.
Yeah, that timeline that you mentioned, Byron, is it seems to me absolutely crucial here. One can't discuss any of this issue, as it were, in the stovepipe about when you do a redistricting, what the census was, whether a place is overrepresented or underrepresented, without looking at the real reason for this, which is straightforward power politics. The Democrats want to take back the House. They want to do this because they want to thwart Donald Trump. And if they manage to thwart his agenda, they will also, because they have the majority there, be able to impeach him again. Isn't that what this is really all about? It's nothing about principle or standing up for democracy. It's about beating Donald Trump, isn't it?
It is not about principle or standing up for democracy. Sorry to be laughing at that. You're absolutely right. This is all about Trump. And the first thing is, if Trump has any legislative agenda left, um, a Democratic majority in the House would stop it cold.
Right.
So that would be a big plus for them. But the other thing is clearly, I think they want to impeach Trump again. There are apparently, number three, apparently
Right.
there are some Democrats who believe that the third time will be a charm,
Yeah.
and that they can impeach him again. And of course, if they do have a majority, you just need a simple majority for to impeach a president. It'll go to the Senate, and then Trump would be acquitted, and it would all be over again. But it would be another impeachment, and it would distract Trump
Right.
the way that the earlier impeachment did.
Yeah. Well, it could indeed. It could, undermine his presidency again. But it doesn't look like it's the kind of thing that would help the Democrats sort of reestablish themselves in voters' minds as not being kind
No.
of crazy. Byron, that's where we'll leave it. That's where we'll leave it. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. Thank you all for joining us here on Political Perspectives. Join us again next time.